Hey everybody, how's it going this fine Tuesday evening? Hope yours is going well. We've got a signing, and it's not a particularly important signing, it's not a particularly impactful signing, but it is a signing nevertheless, and everything that this team does or doesn't do ultimately means something. So here it is, guys. Damarious Randall, a former Packer and former Cleveland Brown who spent 2020 with the Seahawks, is back on the Seahawks. So over an hour ago, he tweeted this out. Let's get to work with the Seahawks GIF. So that seems like a pretty logical assumption to make that he's back in Seattle for one more year. And the only other report I could find was on Instagram from Seahawks Galaxy. Seahawks have re-signed defensive back Damarious Randall. Contract details are unknown per reliable insider sources. Very, very little stuff on Twitter other than that. I'm not seeing anything from any of the big reporters yet, or even the small-time Twitter reporters. So this one passed with very little fanfare, and honestly, looking at what Damarious Randall did for this team last year, it's easy to see why that might be the case. So, yeah, Damarious Randall back, and if you take a look at his stats from 2020, played in 10 games and only had 3 tackles, so this is far from a big impact signing. And as for how much he actually played, well, he played 35 snaps on defense and 69 snaps on special teams. So he was a pretty impactful special teams player for the Seahawks in 2020, I would say. He got on the field a decent amount. 7 snaps a game on average is not anything to completely ignore. We obviously have several special teams players on this team who are more important than Damarious Randall, but every little bit helps. I would assume that this is a veteran minimum deal, and I would assume we're only planning on using him as a special teamer. So let's talk about beyond that, though, because obviously we lost Quentin Dunbar yesterday, and there's been a lot of talk about the Seahawks needing some help at cornerback, and at the very least, maybe needing some depth at safety. So, one thing about Damarious Randall that's kind of appealing is that he's spent time at every secondary position that there is, except for, I guess, nickelback. He's been a left cornerback, he's been a right cornerback in Green Bay, and then he played both safety spots in Cleveland over 2018 and 2019. So, this is a guy who's pretty versatile, and that's valuable in and of itself, regardless of anything else I can say about him, because obviously he's not that good of a player. He's a first round bust, quite frankly. The fact that he's found himself playing this role on an NFL team after just uh, in year seven of his career after being a first round pick speaks for itself. But I did briefly consider, is this the guy that we're going to be bringing on as a veteran cornerback to give us a little bit of depth to make our way through the season? So I decided to check out Damarious Randall's measurables to see if he made sense as an outside cornerback in the Carroll defense. Just to see if maybe the plan was to make this guy the kind of insurance outside corner. So Damarious Randall is 5'11" and 196 pounds. So that's a little shorter than Carroll typically likes his cornerbacks. He likes his cornerbacks to be at least 6 feet tall. The outside corners, I mean. Would Carroll grandstand over an inch? Probably not. Obviously, we saw last year that he was willing to bend his rules for DJ Reed because he had to, and DJ Reed played pretty well. However, if you go to his combine page, you can see that his wingspan is 74.6 inches. And if you know anything about Carroll and his defensive backs, outside defensive backs at least, they have big wingspans. He likes his cornerbacks who play on the outside to have a wingspan of at least 78 inches, I think. So, yeah. I don't think this is the signing that seals up the depth, the outside cornerback spot for Seattle. I think that this is purely a special team pickup with the outside possibility of being a reserve safety for the Seahawks, somebody to back up Adams and Diggs. So that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. but I still feel like there's one more signing that should be made in the secondary. We need to do a little better than this if we want to secure the outside safety position. If Randall's the guy, I'm not sure that fits in with what Carroll wants to do, and I'm not sure it's going to be good enough. But yeah, so breaking news, I guess, Damarious Randall is a Seattle Seahawk for 2021. He might not make the final team. It kind of really depends on how he manages to compare to some of the younger guys we'll be bringing in before the season starts. But yeah, Damarious Randall signs with Seattle and slots in at a few different places, which is nice, but I still think we need another piece in that secondary. I'm out of here. Peace out. Go Hawks. See you guys in stream a little later. And, yep, there it is. There it is.